headset set for OBS. Alright, so we're going to be working on the breaker shotgun today. We're going to be doing a start to finish implementation. I'm going to turn this music down a bit. Alright. Yeah, that's much better. Alright. So yeah. I'm going to go over a little bit of Blender work, some Infusion work, and how to make a new magazine component in Infusion. Weapons are actually fairly simple. Especially if you're kind of just getting them into a good enough state. So like I'm not going to go over like making the bolt move today or any of that. I will leave it so that that is possible, but that's just not what we're going to do today. We're just going to get this thing working. I'm not going to texture this at the moment either. We're just going to go in with a basic gray material for it, and we'll texture at a later date. That way I'm not chewing up time on the guide on implementing textures. So anyway, this is a semi-auto shotgun breaker. So what I like doing is coming in here and combining parts that will go together. That way, I've as few parts as I can. Got this split up quite a bit right now. Let's see. Alright, got my parts. So body, bolt, and mag. And we're gonna call that good for now. So what I like doing is, oh no. Yeah, so I've got a gun here already. I like recycling my projects. So I'll come in here. And we'll go ahead and reuse a lot of this gun here, which this gun's not really the best example because it's a bullpup, and this gun is not. So we're going to import one of my older guns. You know what? We're not. I'm going to show you this as if we are starting from zero. So let me go ahead and get my infusion open. Now, if you're starting from zero, you don't have a gun you already have made that lines up with like vanilla animations and whatnot. You're going to have to do some trial and error, getting it the right size and in the right place. So we'll go over that. So, when you make your new project, you want to try to keep things as organized as possible and keep them either exactly how BI does it are very similar. For scripts, it's very important that you follow their directory format. We'll get into that a little later. For assets and prefabs, it's not so important. You can kind of have these however you want to set them up. But you want to create an assets folder, a weapons folder, and then kind of divide it up from there, just for ease. So this is the SG-225 breaker. SG-225 underscore breaker. Hyphens and underscores, try not to use spaces and whatnot. That can cause issues. You don't really want a lot of spaces in your file names. Give me 1 second. All right. Yeah, so you don't want to put a lot of spaces in your folder names. It can cause issues with stuff like peer tools. So once we get our folder made, we're going to show and explore. I'm going to copy that directory. Just makes things quicker. In Blender, when you got your rifle, you always want the muzzle pointing towards the Y positive direction. It is very important. Y positive is forward. So remember, green pointing to the right. Or left, whatever. The gun just needs to point towards the Y on this compass. That's the important part. All right, so we're going to get this exported, but this is not how this is going to look. So what was it? SG-225 underscore breaker. We're simply exporting right now to find scale. Once you got it imported into your Infusion, go ahead and register and import. There we go. So you can make sure you have it the right way. If the gun is pointing towards the front, then you're doing good. And just for these purposes, I'm going to be throwing just a gray texture on here so that it's not so clashing. We'll break apart the magazine and make that its own prefab here in a little while. So what you want to do is come into World Editor. Really, this could be done in prefab editor as well, but I like working in the world. It's preference. There are some things that being in the prefab editor is a little easier to do, but you can do everything in World Editor. It can just be tricky. Alright. So, with the way the bolt on this gun is set up, I'm thinking an AK or a VS or VZ are going to be probably the types of guns we want to use if we're going to recycle animations. Obviously, if you know how to do your own animations, you can use anything as the parent and then make your own animations. So I'm going to come in here. We're just going to find the VZ and drag it into the world. Which I'm going to do the prefab just so it's the full gun. So it's asking you to make a sub-scene of the world. You could do that by pushing the white button, the white paper button, or just dragging something into the world and it'll immediately prompt you. So we're going to get this up off the ground. Alright. I also want to spawn in an AK because I want to kind of compare this to a couple different guns. Come here. So under generic entity, I'm going to copy the coordinates. Paste these into both of these. While holding shift and clicking on one of the compass coordinates, I can drag that up and my camera will follow it. Alright. So now we got those in the world. We can grab our weapon. Just let me resize my workspace a little bit here. Breaker. So we can drag this in here and paste those coordinates in there, and then you're lined up. So scale is not bad. It is pretty much there. So now obviously I'm not gonna get the perfect lineup on the bolt that I'm really wanting out of either of these, because I mean they're different guns, they're different form factors. So if I was to line up the pistol grip, that's pretty far. I think the VZ is going to be a little closer. So yeah, I mean that's a pretty big difference, right? So neither of these are perfect, but I think the VZ animations are going to line up a little better. So that's what we're going to go with. So let me get this back on the same 0 point as the VZ. And if we look at the VZ, so I can push this to the side. This here is the same as this right here. That is your 000. So we're going to kind of look at where that is on this gun. And like I said, we got lucky on scale. Scale's perfect. And we're going to come in Blender and copy that 0 placement, which looks like it's about right there. And we're just going to go ahead and export this. And kind of walk it in, right? So let's put that back. And that is pretty close. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit P while having this selected, take me to the VZ. I'm going to inherit the VZ and name it the SG-225 underscore breaker. Put that into the world. We can get rid of this one now. We're going to go mesh object. And we're going to find our breaker model and throw this in. Now, after every major change, you want to apply to prefab and save. It's going to ask you to save the world. We can just save it here. I already have a world saved, so I'm just going to override that. Where you save it, what you name it's not important, because this world is not used by anybody that's going to download your mod. You can just delete it whenever you're done. It's not important. It's not a permanent part of the mod. So now we got, you know, magazine and a weird stock and all that. So that's going to be attachment components. You can just click enable and kind of take those parts off. I think nope, this gun doesn't have a muzzle. Cool. Muzzle component all the way down at the bottom here, offset under magazine position, is where we can move the mag. And I'm just gonna move it up out of the way for now, because we'll be replacing this with the actual mag at some point. Right now, I just kind of want to get a feel of how it looks in the hands. Now, it makes it easier to have a game mode thrown into your world. So if you just type in game mode and look for game mode editor full, just drag that into the world, save, and then hit play. That enables Game Master and some other functions. If you get any codes or anything like that that pop up, for right now it's fine. So we're gonna drop the M16 and equipped. Now sights and whatnot are not going to be set up just yet, so we're looking at hand placement, and to be honest, that is pretty spot on for the pistol grip. Front hand, not so much. I don't like the way that looks. So, with that being said, I think the AK might be the way to go. Type 93, integrally suppressed. Oh, must be Ivan. Thinking the AK might be the way to go if we're going to be recycling animations. The AK's front hand is a little lower than the VZ, so let's go ahead and give that a try real quick and just see. Prefabs, weapons, rifles. Okay, 47, inherit. We'll call this SG-225 underscore breaker underscore V2. Let's just drag this in. And something you'll learn, shortcuts are the way to go. Instead of trying to go through my directory and getting to my model again, I'm just going to click on the one I already have it. Mesh object, hit that magnifying glass, swap back over to the AK, and drop this in. Learning shortcuts will speed up your development so much faster. What is this wild music? Huh. Still Helldivers. Cool. Alright, so let's test the hand placement on the AK animations. Now I could go and just assign the AK animations to that first prefab, and that would work, but I think it's just easier to do this. So now it looks like the AK animations are going to work. We just need to raise the gun a little bit, and these will be just fine. As you can see, the muzzle point is kind of at 0, 0. But, yeah. Alright. So we're going to come back to Blender. I'm just going to move up and forward ever so slightly. Oop, not an STL. I fumble in this right now. Export FBX. There we go, it moved. So let's give it another test. Yeah. So, I think this is about as close as we're going to get while recycling vanilla animations. There's some hand clipping, and that's unfortunate. but that's fine because we're just trying to implement the gun right now. Animations, we can worry about those at a later date. And as you can see, the sight components, none of that is set up right now. We'll do all of that here in a minute. Now, this is going to be kind of a weird guide because this isn't a regular rifle. We'll set it up as a regular rifle at first, but this is a shotgun. And there's a few different ways that you can go about implementing shotguns in this game. And I'll show you that here in a minute. So we're going to find this prefab that we don't need anymore, and we're going to delete it. We're going to delete this folder to kind of keep things clean. So now this is where our breaker goes. So we're going to rename this to represent that because we don't have an AK in our mod. Okay. And then we can delete that. We don't need the model in the world. Okay. So now that we got all that, we're going to go back to Blender. A lot of back and forth, a lot of back and forth. Name of the game. All right. We're going to hide the mag. Now we're going to work on memory points. You know what? We'll go ahead and make that bolt move. I think that's fine. That'll be easy. No, we're not gonna worry about the bolt right now. Sorry. That's a lot of more trial and error trying to recycle the vanilla animations to make the bolt move. We'll worry about that another day. So yeah, memory points. These things kind of just speed up implementation. I'll show you in Infusion what they're used for in a minute. So we're gonna take one of these. We're gonna come slap this down at the end of the barrel. Cool. And then we're gonna take a couple more. So we'll place one right about there, one right about there, and then one right about here. This one we're going to call I. Sight. Rear. And sight. Front. Alrighty. And then for the magazine, we're going to look at this. We're going to drag one of these into the world. And I want to look at the mesh object. So you kind of want to match this. Same with the gun. This part's not nearly as important, but if you want the animations to kind of line up, you want to match this. So we'll get to that in a minute. Let's see. So we're going to go ahead and copy another one of these. We're going to bring it in front of the ejection port. Name it ejection port. Now the exact placement of this, not crazy important. Kind of a big name of the game is good enough. Now, these three here, they need to be all lined up on the x-axis as well as the z-axis. Because that's your rear sight, that's your front sight, and that's where your eye is. If these are not lined up, your gun is not going to shoot straight whenever you aim down sights. So it's very important. Same thing with this. Your, which I didn't rename, your muzzle doesn't need to be aligned on the Z, but it needs to be aligned with your sights and your eye on the X, or you'll get a gun that doesn't shoot straight. And who wants that? All right, so now we're going to work on colliders. We're going to bring in just a basic cube. And I like doing this in wireframe. We're going to come in. We're kind of just going to get it center mass and get it about the right width. Our music stopped. No, it didn't. It's just super quiet. There we go. All right. So I'm just going to come up here and we're going to look at my other gun real quick. So let's hide this collection. So you see we've got a UCX, and that's just kind of one big block. And UCX, there's different cut types of colliders. So there's UCX, UTM, UBX. So it's like a uniform convex. So on a convex, all of these angles have to be facing outwards. They cannot be negative angles. They all have to be positive angles. A UTM, as long as it's made of triangles, it can be whatever shape you want it to be. This is a very basic UTM. This is actually made up by multiple different objects that have been joined. You could even, given that your gun is low enough poly, you could use just a copy of your gun as a UTM. So yeah, we're just going to kind of copy the method of that. So we're going to come in here, we're going to go edit. I'm just going to add a couple loop cuts and kind of start moving this around to kind of get like the very basic shape of the gun. Now, this doesn't need to be anything crazy perfect. You just need to make sure that you don't see like that kind of angle would not work on a UTM because it's a negative angle. But once we bring it to something more like this, now you can see all the angles are positive angles. All right. So then we're going to call that UTM underscore body. I'm going to hide that. So we're going to add so that's for like when you drop the gun on the ground for it to roll around. The UTM, which, sorry, that's not supposed to be a UTM. That's supposed to be a UCX. So the UCX is for like world interactions, dropping it on the ground, character running into it, it bumping into the wall, like if you're trying to get up against cover. That's what that's for. The UTM is for like ballistic interactions. So if your gun is getting shot, that's what it's about. So for the UTMs, you want to try and follow the silhouette of your gun a bit better. And now this may look like you need to know some things about Blender. You really don't. You can kind of get away with this with extreme basic Blender knowledge. You're just kind of getting still a rough approximation of what your gun is shaped like, just a little more accurate, ever so slightly. Doesn't need to be a scale replica, just a general outline. You can do this pretty quick, fast, and dirty, and it's not really going to hurt much. So that's pretty much good enough. You could do better. You could do worse, and it really won't hurt it. But for these, it needs to be made up of triangles. So just make sure you triangulate. The engine should triangulate on its own. Sometimes it has some problems though. I think that's probably as good as I feel like getting it. We'll slim this pistol grip down a bit. That way it's not blocking any shots that your character might get to the hand. But that should be good. So it's going to be UTM body. What you name it after the hyphen or the underscore is not super important. It's for your own purposes. Now, if you were a smart boy, you'd get the Blender Infusion add-on tools. Just give me 1 second. Just responding to the whammon. All right. If you're a smart cookie, you'd have the Blender Infusion plug in. You could do your collider materials right now. I don't like it. I don't use it. So I'll show you how to go about not using it. So we're going to come in here. We don't need that. So assets, weapons, rifles, breaker. Now, we go to colliders. Our colliders are here, but as you see, they got a big, scary warning symbol, and it's because we didn't assign anything. Therefore, the engine auto assigns everything. It's great. Literally all or nothing. The way we fix this is we come into import settings, which you'll also notice under bones, our memory points aren't there. So under import settings, we're going to go skinning, export skinning, and export scene hierarchy. We're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. Our UCX body. Let me just pull up one of my other guns so I can confirm what this is going to be. So UCX body, the layer preset is a weapon. So if you type in W, it'll go straight to it. Weapon. Surface properties. Let's hit the 3 dots and look up a metal. We're just going to use metal, just base game metal. We can copy and paste that metal into our other one. And UTM body is going to be Fire Geo, so hit F, and it will take you straight to Fire Geo. Once you do that, and you set your surface properties for both of them, you're just going to get re-import resources. Now you can see we have our memory points are showing up, and our colliders are now properly displaying how they should be. And if you look in layer presets, they say fire geo, fire geometry, and weapon interaction layers. So we are looking good. We're gonna come back to Blender, and we're gonna hide all of that stuff. We're gonna grab our mag, and if we remember, the center point on that AK mag was, you know, about forward back. It was about middle, and then it was a little closer to the top of the magazine. So we're just going to kind of get that a general approximation. And we're going to put this in as its own model. Coming back to Infusion, this little cube up here on your tab, you can double click that. It'll take you to the root, the source of whatever it is that you're looking at up there. So let's go ahead and re-import that. See, we got our shotgun shell, or our shotgun magazine, and we got our gun. So now we're going to come back to the world editor, and we'll get to the magazines here in a minute. So we're going to click on the gun. We are going to come to Sights component. Sight position is your eye, so assign that to eye and 0 it out. Sight point front, let's make that sight front, and then 0 this out. And sight rear, as you may have guessed, sight rear, and 0 it out. Let's go ahead and apply to prefab. And that should be it for the sights at the moment. We can get deeper into sight ranges and all that later, but for now that's just what we need for good enough. So now we're going to come down to muzzle component. Muzzle in positions. Now, we'll get into this a little bit more whenever we go to convert this into a shotgun. I'm not going to do that on the screen. We're just going to make this function like a regular rifle, and then I'll do that on my own time. But for a single-barreled rifle, or a single projectile rifle, you'd only have 1 point. So we're going to make that muzzle. And now that's where the bullets come from. The spawn point, we're also going to make this muzzle. Now, vanilla guns, they have another memory point back here at the breech. So you kind of want to drag this back, and it kind of gives it some, like, it helps the prefab understand, like, where the bullet should go based off of how the gun is moving in your character's hands. So these here, under fire modes, this is how you change your weapon's functionality. So for max burst, 0 is safe, -1 is automatic, and 1 would be semi. So if it's a positive number, that's how many rounds it'll let off in a burst. It's -1 means as long as the trigger's pulled, it's going to continue to run, and 0 means nothing's coming out. Now, max salvo is how many shots are coming out of the barrel at once. So if I set this to 10, every time I pulled the trigger, it would chew up 10 rounds out of my magazine instantly. So that's another way you can do shotguns. You can have 1 barrel and raise your salvo, and it comes out multiple, which I think is what we're going to do here. So let me open up the wiki for the breaker and see if we've got any stats we can check on this. So it's 7-round magazine, the fire rate of 300 rounds per minute. So we don't want automatic, so we're going to set that there. We're going to set that 300. We're going to do the same for the other one. So you can't get rid of, the prefab came with it, you can't get rid of it. I mean, we can try. Yeah, see, this doesn't do anything. You can't get rid of stuff that's already been put on the prefab. So we'll change these both to semi-autos with 300. 300 rounds a minute, right? Yep, flat 300. Oh, so it does shoot full auto. Never mind. So we will change one of these back to full auto. Let's see if it has any information on how many projectiles come out. So 12 shot buckshot. Okay. So it's got 11 pellets. Okay. And let's see, so 330 base damage. Let me compare this to a rifle real quick. Okay. So what I'm gonna do a max salvo of 11 on both of these. And then what did it say the magazine capacity was? We'll need to keep that in mind. 7. So when we go to make a magazine, it's not going to be just like 7 rounds in the mag, because then it's not even going to make it through one burst. It'll just immediately shoot all 7 rounds. So we'll need to take 7 times the amount of pellets. We're going to need to do 77 rounds in one magazine, and that'll give us 7 pulls of the trigger, because it's going to fire off 11 rounds at a time, which is no big deal. So actually, Control Z. I want that magazine. So hit P to find the magazine. We're going to go to this ball mag. It's the type of ammunition in it. We're going to inherit. We're going to do magazine SG-225 underscore 7 round buck shot. I'm going to drag this into the world. We can get rid of the old one because we don't need it anymore. So like we did earlier, we're going to copy these coordinates. We're going to drop in that magazine and see how close we got it lined up. So boom, paste. So front and back we did pretty good. Just need to bring it up just a little bit. A little more. I am getting a phone call, so I will be right back. Alrighty, I am back. Alright. The woman needed to gossip about work. Where are we? Yeah. Alright, we're there. We're good. We're solid. So we've got our model in the world space where we need it. So we go ahead and drag and drop that onto our AK model, or AK prefab, AK magazine prefab. We're going to come in here. So we need 77 rounds of ammo. Now, your ammo mapping, this is basically telling you how to load the magazine. So in your config, there'll be typically 2 to like 4 different types of ammo. So 545 will have 545 ball, 545 tracer, and like 545 steel core. I think I don't remember. I don't feel like opening it up. But you tell it like 0 for ball, 1 for tracer, 2 for steel core. So you'll see on some of these mags, like Stanex, they have the last 5 are tracer. So it'll be 0, 0, 0, 0, and the last 5 like prefab will be 1, 1, 1, 1, right? To tell it load tracers in there. If you just want it all one ammo type, you can just delete them all. I mean, or you can make them all, but basically, as long as you have one of these in here. So if we go down to all the way to just one, and you tell it 0, the rest of them in the magazine will be the same. So you don't have to sit here and click this 77 times and type in the desired number 77 different times. We're not going to do that right now. All right. We'll get into changing the magazine well, so only this magazine can be inserted in only this gun and in a little while. So for now, we're going to hit P. Oh, no, we're going to hit P on our magazine. Click on our gun, muzzle component. We're going to drop it in the magazine template. Apply to prefab and save real quick. Sometimes it likes to revert back to the last mag. So I want to get rid of that flash hider that's there for a second. So attachment slot, I'm just going to disable that. Come back to the muzzle and magazine position. We're going to choose offset. And just to get us back into the area, zero that out. All right. So I like pulling this out a little bit so I can kind of get an idea of how high up it needs to be. So I think we need to be about right there. And then we'll zero out the x-axis again. Let's see, so there's a magazine clutch in here. So there's the little nub that the catches on. So we're going to bring it right there. That's about good enough. And then are we good front and back? So we got a lot of space there. Just trying to bring it forward just a little bit. Yeah, we're going to bring it forward a little bit more. There we go. So we're not rubbing in the front. And we're basically right up against the catch in the back. Yeah, we're actually kind of clipping. Not that that's important because you won't see it, but right there. Let's see how we look. There we go. We're using up all of our space. So we're going to apply to prefab. And then I want a few more of these mags. So I'm going to Control C and Control V a few of them. Now, right now, we have it set to a salvo of 11. It's going to shoot 11 rounds basically in the exact same spot. That's no good. So we need to find our dispersion diameter and dispersion range. So what I like doing is at about 50 meters, let's give it a max dispersion. And this will kind of play with the spread of the individual pellets. So 50 meters, it's going to have the full, I think I don't know what the 1 stands for. I just know it's 0 is minimum, 1 is maximum. So we'll go ahead and quit and pick up a bunch of mags. And now we get to play with our new gun. Check and see if the sights line up, which this doesn't have any sights on it, but the ADS does work. So it looks like okay. Critical point. Your max salvo is dependent on how many barrels you have. So in our muzzle component, we're going to give this so we're going to do that. I want to copy and paste. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So yeah, 9, 10, it's 11. So we're going to copy, paste, 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 paste. If you notice, the prefab broke. It's invisible. It's because we have 11 muzzle positions and only 1 projectile spawns. That's fine. Whenever we match projectile spawns, it should fix itself. Nope, nope, nope. There we go. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and there we go. See, the prefab fixed itself. And we're going to paste on all these. I use a trackball mouse, and this is a thumb workout. Going up and down like this. Alright. So we got our 77 round magazines, 11 muzzle, 11 barrels essentially, with a max salvo of 11. Yep. Cool. So I lied. We're not setting this up like a regular rifle first. Yep, so that's something we got to play with, but it is shooting off 11 rounds at once. Just looks like they're all hitting in one spot. Oh yeah. That audio is awful. So, if you're making a regular gun, you don't use one of those. I'm not going to bore you with trying to balance a shotgun right now. We're going to go ahead and go over doing magazines. So, under your prefab, or not your prefab, your mod, come back to this window first. So, under your mod, you'll need to make a scripts folder, game, weapon, and then this is where you would make a new script. So we're going to open up one that I already have made. This is an attachment script, so not that one. So this is a magazine well script. So I'll drop this in the description of the video so that y'all can copy it. Essentially what you're going to do is copy. We're going to close this. We're going to create a new folder. We're going to call it sg-225 underscore mag. No, sorry. Not a folder. Delete that. We're going to make a new script called sg-225 underscore mag. We're going to open that up. We're going to paste in the magazine. We're going to call it sg-225. We're going to copy that, and everywhere where it says AR-23, so the original script, we're going to paste our new script in here, or our new name. So if you'll see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the title. That's where you need to put all those. Once you're done doing that, you're going to hit Save All. Then you're going to hit Shift F7. That's going to reload and reinitialize all the game scripts. I'm going to ask you to save anything that hasn't been saved. We're just going to ignore that pop up because that's for some warning shit for base game stuff. They've broken some stuff in the last couple updates. Alright, scripts complete. See, no errors. We're good. You can close this now. Now on the magazine, here where it says Entity Instance, you're going to choose the name of your prefab. We're going to go to Magazine Component. Right here on Magazine Well, we're going to right click, change class, and then we're going to type in ours. So Magazine Well SG-225. Alrighty. So we're going to hit save. We're going to come to our weapon where it says Entity Instance. We're going to choose the name of our prefab. We're going to go to Muzzle Component and then find Magazine Well. Right click, change, SG-225. Click, and we're going to save. Now, I don't like that it says sample weapon right there because this is a copy of the sample weapon script. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to delete that out of all this. Save all, Shift F7. Nope. I crashed my infusion. Getting into modding at Reforger, go ahead and get used to this. You're going to crash it. A lot. All the time. All right, looks like it doesn't want to load. So it's a good little teaching. Oh, here we go. So we did load. If that's the case, we made a script that breaks your game, doesn't want to load anymore. Just go find it in your file directory, like in your file explorer, and just delete it. Or you can open it up in Notepad and edit it. If it's locking you out of your game. Our music stopped. Alright. Yeah, so our magazine well broke. That's no big deal. We can fix it. So scripts, game, weapon. Let me open up sample weapon real quick. So what it is, more than likely, is I messed up a space somewhere. Yep. So sample weapon class, weapon source, yep. Class. Yep, got that. Alright. Save all. And let's go ahead and reload the scripts. And fingers crossed we don't break the game again. Yay, it worked. Alright, close that. Hell yeah. Buddy's talking shit through the window. Magazine, well, we're gonna go ahead and right click. Or we just click on it. But first, if you're ever changing stuff like this, you need to do this. The weapon component. Or the entity instance. Sorry. So click. We're going to type in SG22. Yep, there we go. It's a cleaner looking appearance. Magazine component. Magazine well. First we need to change the entity instance. SG225. Boom. Save. Alright, so now those are lined up. Those work. And this is essentially all you really got to do for weapon creation. These are now done. If you had iron sights, you could throw them in the box. Give me 1 second though. Already had a buddy talking schmack. Alright. So yeah. What you could do after this is move into like attachment components. So that's for an underbarrel, for bayonet. You could set up the rails, and that's through these. Very similar to doing magazine scripts. You gotta change these. So if you wanted, let's do carry handle. And then we'll move this up here. And let's find a, what is it, APK? No, what is the name of that scope? Do 4X. Prefabs. Weapons. So we'll drop that in there real quick. AP2K, that's right. Boom. See, now we have attached scopes. This is a base game issue right now, just hit no. Crazy recoil. Which we'll be fixing that in a little bit. But yeah, the reload animation doesn't match up perfectly, but I'd say it's about good enough for recycling vanilla. Now we'll play with that dispersion a little bit. So muzzle. Let's try a 20-meter dispersion. And I think so. Recoil. I'm trying to remember where recoil is. So let's lower this right here and see what this does. Let's just set it to 1. Give this a try. So the linear should be your forward and backwards recoil. So I can't tell if that really did anything. Doesn't look like it. I don't really play with recoil a lot, so this is a bit trial and error for me right now. Yeah, so I think this is angular recoil that we're running into right now. Not linear. So we'll go ahead and bump all that stuff back to where it was. So let's see what bumping down the So we can say we are getting some bullet spread. Just not enough. Just as a science experiment to see if any of that is actually affecting recoil. Yeah, so we're getting some weird stuff out of that. Much more reasonable. Yeah, I think we're getting there. Let's say that's not bad. But let's go play with the dispersion. GM seems to be broken on my game for some reason. So let's see. Yeah, I mean it kicks like a mule, but with an actual mouse or an actual controller, you could keep it. Let's say that's a decent spread. Alright. So in the past, I didn't have an issue with it making 11 shot audio cues. Like that. So it's very strange. And I'd like it to not do that. Okay. It's also something I forgot to do. So, muzzle effects. So casing ejection, casing. So we're going to zero this out. We're going to put this on ejection port. And then muzzle effect component. I want to zero this out. Put this on muzzle. That should fix the muzzle flash coming from the magazine well. Because if your gun is shooting fire out of the mag well, you're having problems. You don't want that. So I think a max salvo 11 is just really fucking with this. That's still awful sounding. So I'll hunt down a solution for the shotgun aspect later. That's essentially all you need to do to make a gun. So once you're done making your gun, what you're going to do is go to ArmA Reforger. You're going to find configs. You're going to find entity. So editor, entity catalogs. The faction that you would want this to go into. And then you're going to do inventory items entity catalog. Now I think I already have one of these in mind. I do. So you would override. You'd right click, override, and then it'll bring it in here. So then you'd either put it in the weapons tab, where you'd make your own tab. I'm going to go ahead and copy one of the existing ones. We're going to paste in a new entity catalog entry. We're going to hit paste. You're going to find your gun, drag it, drop it, file, save as. Simple as that. Now your gun will show up in the arsenal box. You do the same thing for magazines and whatnot. Just make yourself a new ammunition tab or put it in here with the existing ammunition. You'd copy one that's similar, paste it, drag and drop your prefab, and then save all. Yeah. So I think that's going to be all I go over tonight. If anybody needs any help, always reach out in the Discord. Either me or any of the other guys on the team that, if it's a question they know how to answer, we'll help you out. But you boys have a good one. Thank you for the guys that stopped by. Y'all have a good night.